Well, thank you all for being here for the League of Women Voters of Collin County annual meeting. My name is Ian Siemens. I'm on the board of directors for the League of Women Voters of Collin County and also a past co-president. Liz Holland, our president, is not able to make it today, is traveling, so I'm stepping in instead. The League of Women Voters, if you are not familiar, if this is your first time, is an over 100-year-old organization dedicated to empowering voters and defending democracy. Thank you so much for all of you attending today. The annual meeting is the meeting that we get all of our business done for the year. We are a very democratic small d organization here, and it is a very grassroots-led organization. So many of the primary decisions that need to be made about how our local league functions, what we focus on, is decided upon by our members and those of you who are here today at the annual meeting. Today, we will be adopting a program for the ensuing year. We will be electing our officers and directors and the chair of our nominating committee for the next year. We will be excitedly adopting a budget, which we will be getting to first off. And we will also be voting on any proposed changes to our bylaws. This year, we do not have any proposed changes, so hopefully we'll be getting out of here with plenty of time to spare. All of these documents are available over there, all of the program documents, the budget as well. So if you did not get a copy, you can there. Also, we try to email these out ahead of time. There will also be opportunities for some questions throughout this process. I'm going to talk a little bit more about what we're going to talk about today. We'll also be going over briefly some of the annual reports. Those are online. We're probably not going to go over them in depth, but if anybody has any questions, we can talk about those. So we are going to start off with adopting the rules of the annual meeting. So the League of Women Voters in all of our meetings uses Robert's Rules of Order. If you've served on a board or something like that, you will be familiar. These rules by which we agree to make decisions together. These are the adoptions of the relevant rules today. We have to all agree to abide by them. This takes a 2/3 vote. We are going to agree that the annual meeting is opened to all of our league members, their guests, and visitors. Only the LWVCC members may vote, however. A majority vote is required for most measures. However, there is a higher threshold for a couple of votes. So specifically, we have gone through a program planning process already in the previous months where we sent out a call to folks to send in their recommendations for programs that we could do in the next year. We also held a meeting where we discussed this. But if after those meetings, the LWVCC board voted to recommend several programs. However, some programs are not recommended each year. Those not recommended programs, if we want to vote to put those in the program regardless and say yes to those, the non-recommended ones, that takes a 2/3 vote. Bylaws amendments, this is not relevant, but that takes a 2/3 vote. And also nobody can say, well, I'm voting for so-and-so. We also have a quorum, just as everybody here is a quorum. We're not going to really worry about a quorum, essentially. Debate. So if you are a guest, thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate taking the hour out of this afternoon to learn more about the League of Women Voters. However, you cannot engage in debate either. Motions, again, only a member may make a motion. So specifically, under Robert's Rules of Order, the way that this works is if someone wants to make a motion at some point to say, I motion that we should vote to adopt this thing, that will require a second. So someone else to say, I second, and to second that motion, unless it comes from a committee. So for those of people making a report and a motion on behalf of a committee where the committee has already voted yes, then they don't need a second. And rules changes. So if we think that we should change any of these rules at any point, then we can use a 2/3 vote. So with that, let's all vote on these rules. So I motion, and it comes from committee, that we adopt these proposed rules for the annual meeting. Does anyone have any questions first? Oh yes, and also 16 and up. You have to be a member and 16 or up to vote on this. But any other questions? Okay, well, we'll move to a vote. Everybody will raise your hands if you can vote on this. Okay, the ayes have it, and the proposed rules are adopted. And we will now go over to the budget. Gayla, you can come and take it away. I went a little out of order here. Well, let me figure out. Yep. There we go.
This is our most exciting presentation today. The budget.
Oh, there we go.
I
Yes,
can't see
there
it.
we go. There we go.
Okay.
Oh yes, and here you go. You can hold this.
Oh, okay. I don't want to do this. Okay. On the very far right was our budget for this year. And I want you to notice that we thought we were going to have to get about $6,500 from savings to cover our expenses. But look how much our income increased. And we wound up not having to do that. And I thought that was really exciting. We've all worked hard with donations, North Texas Giving Day fundraising, and grants especially. And as you can see, we're projecting those same increases for this year's budget. There's really not a lot of exciting stuff going on there. But if anyone has any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Any questions? Oh yeah, and I'll also repeat those questions. Yes, I'll go to over here first.
Okay, now my question is, these grants and fundraising that you're expecting to be larger, do you have any reason, what kind of grants are these?
Yeah, so the question, and this is also for the recording, the question is around the grant income and why do we expect that to continue to be higher? And yeah, where do we expect to be getting those from?
Okay, the two grants that we expect to get this coming year are the same grants we got last year. We partner with Collin County Votes, is that the name of it? And we got $1,500 from them just a couple of months ago, so the same amount, assuming we continue to partner with them, and I have no reason to think that we won't. That grant will come in March or April of next year also, which is it within next year's budget. We also got a grant. We get grants from the state for Unite and Rise, which is our big, what would you call it, kind of program? Advocacy program, thank you. And also, we get another small grant from the State League for filing our legal paperwork in a timely manner. And that's been going on for quite a while, many more years than I've been here. The fundraising North Texas Giving Day, as you can see in the budget for this fiscal year budget, $1,200, that was approximately what we took in last year for North Texas Giving Day. And we increased that by $400, almost $500. And we're expecting at least that same amount next year. And the same for the donations. I don't know of any other reason why we would not get those same, at least those same amounts.
I'll also make one other note is that our membership has increased quite a bit in the last 2 years, especially last year. We'll get to that in the membership report, but that's also why the membership dues are increasing there. Yes. Any other questions? Sure.
$300 for the vote 411. Why is it the same as previous?
Yeah, so why is Vote 411 the same as previous years of $300?
It is my understanding, and those that know more about it than I do, please correct me if I'm wrong. If we had to pay for our participation in Vote 411, it would cost us $300. It's my understanding that the state league is either paying that amount for us, or they are not charging us to participate in 411. Is that correct, Janice?
Yeah, the state league pays for coverage. So local leagues. The state league pays for coverage and Vote 411 for all the state, for all the races across the state. So local leagues don't have to pay a subscription. I can't even remember the last time we paid for ours. If we had to pay, it might be more than 300, but it sounds like the state is going to continue this. So we're in good shape.
Any other questions?
Okay, well, that was really easy.
Okay, with that, we adopt the budget.
No, why don't you do that?
Sure. Well, on behalf of the committee, I make the motion to adopt the budget for the next fiscal year. Since this is on the behalf of the committee, this does not require a second. Do we have any further discussion before we move to a vote? Okay, here. Oh, yeah.
Question. So as expenses are rising, higher than expected, if we needed to amend the budget, mid-year, you have that option, is that correct?
Yes, I don't know. So the question was whether we have the option to amend the budget mid-year if needed. I believe so. It's I'm sure been done before, but not while I've been around. Yes, and Janice is nodding. So yes, I believe that we do have that ability. Yes. Okay. Without any further discussion, we'll move to a vote. You can either say aye or raise your hand. All in favor? Aye. Okay, great. Any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it, and the budget is adopted. Thank you so much, Gayla. And I don't know if I introduced you, but Gayla Mazuka, who is our treasurer, just answered all of your questions. Thank you so much, Gayla. Now is where we would normally adopt the bylaws. And instead, we will move on to the nominating committee. The nominating committee has nominated Liz Holland for president, myself as vice president, Jocelyn Tyner as secretary, and Gayla Mazuka again as treasurer. We also have both elected directors and appointed directors. Today, we will only be voting on the elected directors, of course. However, at their first board meeting, the following board is planning to vote to appoint these four members as directors. So we can appoint up to 6 directors as a board. This is just to give us some extra flexibility, especially with adding folks mid-year to the board. We're usually looking for board members. So if you think that sounds interesting, what is involved with being on the board, please come up to me afterwards and talk, or you can nominate yourself as well for any of these positions. You may also nominate someone else, but you have to have their consent. I always have to specify. Yes, and Donna.
Are the nominees job specific? They understand and accept their
Yes, so our elected director positions do not have any specific role attached to them. In recent years, we've been trying to move away from having requirements for specific positions. However, we have made the nominating committee has made sure that these positions, that all of these members will be filling our key roles, such as voter services on their different committees, along with our many other committees that we will be talking about today. So these folks have been in those discussions already. And next, oh yes, and also we will be voting on the nominating committee chair for the next year, Eloise Richardson, who has been our nominating committee chair for many years now, and she has moved to, is it Virginia? Washington, yes, and thankfully has continued as nominating committee chair from afar, calling people up. Luckily, we don't have those long distance fees. and also working with her committee. And over this last year, the committee members are listed here. Thank you so much to, I know several of you are here today. With that, let me see here if I need to bring up. Yes, okay, so I can actually make this. Yes, question.
Tell us what the difference is.
Yes. So essentially, the vice president roles under the current bylaws are substitutes for the president whenever the president is not able to attend. And they are usually expected to maybe do a little bit more of those executive functions. They are also on the governance committee, I believe is executive committee. That's the word. The executive committee as well. So those members can also all of the officers can get together and make decisions on certain topics as per the bylaws between meetings if that need occurs, essentially. We have divorced the vice president roles from it used to be voter services and was the first vice president and the second vice president was program, or maybe I have that reversed. Yes, I have that reversed. And then we just decided to take those specific roles away from that so that we can make it both easier to find members to fill those roles and just because that makes sense that just because you're doing voter services does not mean that you have to step in for the president and vice versa. So that is the explanation. Any other questions? Okay, move to a vote. I motion on behalf of the nominating committee this slate of, yes, Janice. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Does anyone have any additional nominations from the floor for any of the elected positions? So any of these elected director positions, any of the officer positions? As you can see, if you want to become the second vice president right now, it's open. Or for the nominating committee chair. You might get a free raffle. I'm hearing from the back you might get a free raffle prize if you become second vice president. I didn't get bribed, and I'm first vice president. Okay. Hearing none. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. We will move towards a vote. All those in favor of this slate, say aye or raise your hand. Okay, great. Okay, and any opposed? Okay, the ayes have it unanimously. This slate is adopted. Congratulations to all of the board members. Okay, moving right along to the adoption of program. And Julia, please come up here. Julia Copeland, who you will have already seen if you attended our food security forum just before this, is our current chair of program and vice president as well. Julia will talk a little bit about the recommended program and also explain the non-recommended program as well. And I can scroll through this as you need.
Okay, as Ian mentioned earlier, we have discussions about what program objectives we would like to have for the coming year, and the board recommends some of the ideas, and then there are some that are not recommended, not because they are necessarily bad ideas, as we'll explain when we get down there. So the recommended programs that the board recommended for this year, making your voice heard. So it's like in keeping with the League of Women Voters Unite and Rise. We would like to go over guidelines for participating in a public demonstration in a nonpartisan way, in keeping with being nonpartisan with the League. Also, how to write effective letters to the editor, how to make good phone calls to your representatives, and basically just how to get your voice out there in an effective way. And our proposal is to have a public forum on that with speakers that would come from our membership as well as other organizations. Our second idea is looking at growth and the environment. As we all know, the area is booming, and especially with data centers coming in, we have a lot of potential environmental effects. So we are talking about having a public forum on that with speakers from environmental organizations and maybe universities in our area. And also just keep in mind when you look at these, we're always looking for speakers. So if this makes you think, oh, I know someone, please reach out. Next, we would like to look at public transportation, especially with DART being so in the news and some changes being made in different communities with DART. We'd like to look at that and do an exploration of other local alternatives for public transportation. And we would look to local government officials and activists for that. We have recommended a webinar on countywide versus precinct-wide voting. And I know many of you followed that and what happened with Dallas when they went for the primary to precinct-based voting. We're just looking ahead to see if that might be something that might affect us at some point. How would that affect us? So we're recommending a webinar with our elections administrator, Caleb Bro. A program that we discussed but ended up not recommending was the Meadows Islamic Development, which was formerly known as EPIC. If you were here for our previous program, we had Asma from East Plano Islamic Center. We wanted to look at, since this has been very controversial at the state level as well as in our local community, are developers breaking any laws? What do the developers say? What does the opposition say? But we decided this is such a complex issue that we wanted to look at it in a broader context and be more prepared for addressing it. That is the reason that it was not a recommended program for the coming year. And of course, as Ian mentioned before, if someone would like to advocate for that, and if there's a 2/3 vote, that would be added to the slate of programs as well. Questions about any of those?
None of these, well, I don't know, are these?
So that is a great question. The question was if these are any of these are studies, or if these are all kind of public forums or that kind of program like you just saw with our food security forum. The answer is these are primarily around public education type forums and similar. Part of program in the league, that's with a capital P, in the League of Women Voters. Program can be many things. So it can be a public forum. It can be a study of an issue. The idea with a study is that it will eventually come to consensus around some specific steps that we believe that the league should take on that issue, usually forming a position on that issue. A position is something that we can advocate based off of. So whether that's going to a county commissioners meeting, usually anything at the municipal level are things that we create positions on. The state creates positions at the state level, and we as members of the state league as well have input on that. And the national level also creates positions and advocates on those. Many of the things that you can think of immediately of, I think the league should be working on this, we probably already have a position on it. And that is either under our national, state, or local positions. For instance, pretty much all of the public forums, we already have typically an advocacy position on that topic as well, which I believe is often why we do not have new studies or revisions brought up in program. However, that's an option. And technically, program is anything that the league does. Can be part of program. It's just kind of what we should be focusing on and doing in the next year, especially as recommended by the membership. So if you can think of something else like, I think that you should be sending a letter to the county judge about this thing, that could be program as well. So it's very expansive and broad. However, this year we are primarily talking about educational forums.
Are there existing studies?
Yeah, so the question being, are there any current studies that state or national are doing that we need to participate in? Not currently. So last year we had the federal judiciary study where the League of Women Voters of the United States had the difficult issue of how do we react and what is our position on everything going on at the federal judiciary level right now with regards to how long judges are in office, how they are appointed, how they are making decisions, what their conflict of interests are, kind of everything regarding that. A very complex topic. And so they did ask for a study to be created. That was what was voted on by the membership. We also held a study meeting here, actually at Haggard Library, about this position. We went through a number of questions provided by the national level that were created by members, and we went over those consensus questions, is what they're called, and sent our feedback to national. I believe that new position is supposed to be out either soon or maybe it was just put out. I might have missed it, but yes, okay. It's might be on the website already, but if it's not, it should be in the next month or two. Any other questions? Yes, in the back.
From what I understand, the national branch of the League of Women Voters is in protest against the current powers. Is there anything here in the local branch that we want to do since the national branch is in protest? Or do we want to go and do the issues that you're talking about?
Take this or me?
Well, I think that our purview is to look at what's happening in Collin County and work at the local level. And of course, we always support, what's going on with the National League and the State League. But as far as having, coming up with our own positions or coming up with our own activities, that is more rare if we're looking at things that are on a federal level or on a state level.
One more thing to add to that as well. So in the past year, we have also participated in 3 separate protests as well. So for those of you who are new as well, we are a nonpartisan organization. A nonpartisan organization in the United States means an organization that does not support or oppose any political candidate. However, we have very strong opinions about how things should be. We have very strong opinions on the issues themselves. For instance, that women should have the right to vote. That is how we came about as an organization. So on many other issues, for instance, like you mentioned, the separation of powers, we have engaged in protests regarding how the current administration is violating things like the separation of powers, or what they can do under the Constitution. And so we have participated in that, and we will probably continue to do so over the next year. I will also mention the Making Your Voice Heard is also supposed to be as well supporting the Unite and Rise initiative, which is what the whole campaign kind of around making sure that democracy stays intact is called at the national level. It's called Unite and Rise, under the idea that there is a political scientist that wrote a paper that said that in any society where a certain percentage of the public is openly protesting what the administration is doing, then you will get social change. You will see that the government will take action as long as you have peaceful demonstrations in those numbers. In the United States, that number tallied out to 8.5 million individuals. So the idea being, if you had 8.5 million people taking peaceful, nonviolent protest, then we could see real governmental change. Under that idea, the League of Women Voters has put out playbooks every month with different ideas and different dates and everything of what state leagues and local leagues can do to support that effort. As part of that, we also put together this idea of the Making Your Voice Heard public forums and supporting materials as well for our website.
I think the state league met in April and did their adoption of program have any influence on what will be proposed locally?
Okay.
So yes, as you're also, I'm on the state board of the League of Women Voters of Texas. So speaking to it from that standpoint as well. Part of what we wanted to do with the state program adoption. So number one was making sure that we are continuing our campaign of making democracy work, which is all of the good work that you think of regarding the League of Women Voters. Additionally, we had a focus on a few separate areas that are increasingly important at the municipal level, where we're asking local leagues to make sure to monitor at the county level and take action. One of those is countywide polling, for instance. We want to make sure that this, which helps a lot of folks get to the polls, it does increase voter turnout across the state of Texas, that we don't start seeing rollbacks of countywide polling. There are a few other areas of detail of what county election officers are doing that the state league is asking local leagues to assist in. And we both do those things already and will continue to do so. The president's message, and since Liz isn't here, oh yes, thank you. Sorry to steal your thunder. Since Liz isn't here, I will just go over this very briefly. If you have not heard already, at the beginning of our year in 2025, our league year, it started off momentously with the Collin County Commissioners Court voting to go to hand-marked paper ballots. That is an issue that we had quite a bit of advocacy on, and if you were reading the articles about that, you probably saw Liz quoted in KERA or the Dallas Morning News. We were opposing hand-marked paper ballots in Collin County because, number one, that there's no evidence that that makes our elections any safer. Number two, that is going to cost the county millions of dollars to implement that over the existing system, and we will have to sell or junk a significant number of voting machines that we already paid for. And additionally, we're going to have to pay more money to store all of those ballots and buy all of that paper and et cetera, et cetera. So on the grounds of primarily efficiency and not making anything more secure, we opposed that. Unfortunately, that was passed by the Collin County Commissioners Court, and I'm sure that all of you have now seen what that looks like in person. We did have the opportunity to engage with Texas Civil Rights Project on that to oppose that move. Also worked on that on procedural grounds as well, because that was not well notified to the public that they would even be voting on that on the day that they voted on it. Additionally, over the past year, we've had a great transition to getting more metrics on a lot of the things that we do. You'll see some of those at the end. We have some great numbers, and we are working on collecting more because we want to make sure that what we're doing is working, and we want to make sure that we are making the impact in the areas that we actually want to make an impact on. So we've had a board retreat on that. We're about to have our second board retreat ever here in another week or two with the new board. We have focused our direction on outreach. We have focused our direction as well towards get out the vote a little bit more. Here in Collin County, we have pretty decent voter registration numbers. However, we could definitely increase turnout in elections, especially for non-presidential elections. Like most of Texas, our turnout is very low for those municipal elections, those off-year elections. We have also made 2 new partnerships in this last year, especially in the last several months. We have signed 2 MOUs, I believe, or maybe one, and we're about to sign the second one, with Collin County Votes and North Texas Votes. These are 2 other nonpartisan organizations focused on voter education and voter registration in North Texas. North Texas Votes focuses on voter registration, I believe, especially in schools and a few other places. Collin County Votes is focused on voter education and works with the Collin County Business Alliance in particular. We expect that those will be very good relationships. We've already had a good start with co-hosting a forum with them. We were on a panel with them, and we're now trading information and making sure that our reach is wider. And then lastly, these protests that I mentioned, Liz also notes our engagement there as well, which is very important. Oh, and we have also recently established a youth council for high school students in Collin County. And look forward to growing that. If you are someone who would be interested in our youth council, you can come up and talk to any of us board members afterwards, and we can get you connected. Or if you know someone, we would be happy to hear about that. And that is the report for the year. Does anybody have any questions about that? I'm happy to answer a couple of questions before we move on. All right, well, moving right along to voter services. And I can briefly go over these. I don't think that Janice or Cindy had planned to discuss these before. These are on the website. If you would like to look more of our numbers, we'll have some of these top line numbers also in our kind of statistics there at the end of all of the annual meeting. We'll look at some of these as well. Some really great numbers with our voter registration over the last year. Because this is an off year and we had some municipal elections, our vote 411 numbers are much lower than they would be for a very large election. So you can expect to see this number dramatically increase for the midterms. And yes, we had voter registration events at 7 community events, 9 Collin County College campuses, try saying that 3 times fast, 6 Collin County high schools, and 27 senior facilities. Quite a number. And candidate forums. We also hosted a candidate forum. We had initially planned to have one of our first candidate forums back on a college campus once again, but unfortunately that was on the day of the ice storm. And so we instead pivoted online, and luckily we've been doing Zoom forums for so long now that that's old hat, and we were able to easily make it. We also did forums for Princeton and Parker as well. Thank you to the Parker Women's Club in particular. I've volunteered at that one before. And yes, anybody have any quick questions about voter services before we move on? Okay, moving right along. Program. Quick report on program. We had on September 13th our Water in Collin County Forum. All of this information, again, is on our website. Also, the recordings for all of these is also on our website and YouTube channel. We had our November election review in this very room with the new Collin County Elections Administrator, Caleb Bro. And today, we had our food security in our community forum. Remember it just like it was yesterday. Okay. Oh, yes. And then we also have our webinar on voting rights and upcoming with Texas Civil Rights Project and LWV Texas. We're also going to be promoting this August 21st, how President Trump's executive order on elections could impact how Texans vote. And so I believe that's specifically talking about the executive order that led to Collin County actually moving to paper ballots. So hence why we are also specifically involved in this is because we can speak to it from personal experience of how his executive orders are affecting how we vote. And moving on to membership. I don't think, let's see here. I don't think that either of y'all are also speaking on this one. Thank you to many of our new volunteers are also on our membership committee. So thank you all so much, those of you who are attending. And it has been a very busy year. We have greatly expanded all of our membership events, especially with our socializing and civics events. You can see those here. We had different programs on things like LGBTQ issues, conservatives that are concerned about the death penalty, how the Roaring 20s shaped the 2020s, and voting in the age of disinformation, misinformation, and AI. We also have a book club if you are interested. These are some of the books that they read over the past year and discussed. And social media, which I believe is our final report. Yes. On, oh, and DEI, thank you. And Jocelyn can speak. Let me see here. Make sure that I'm not skipping anybody in my notes. Okay, great. Yes, and for social media, we also had a rapid increase in our social media reach over this year. So thank you so much to Leslie, especially for this, for leading this effort. We have, dramatically increased our reach there. So one of our goals being outreach in this year, has definitely gone towards that. We are now also on LinkedIn and TikTok. So if you're also on LinkedIn and you want to see what we're up to there, you can follow us there. And then we also have the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee report by Jocelyn. This year we focused on education and action as well. One big change was moving from just kind of a static committee that's kind of separate from all of the other committees to more like the members of the DEI committee are now sprinkled throughout the other committees. And so at least every committee has one person who is attending those meetings and who has this knowledge and can participate in those committee meetings and also bring things back to the DEI committee. So it's much more active and throughout the organization. And I think that is our final report. We will now move to our final two portions of this. Let's see. Oh, yes. Of the numbers. Over the last year, we did reach, we had 29,388 individuals reached by our Get Out the Vote efforts, our voter registration efforts, via voters guides, Vote 411, our Vote 411 cards, our Vote 411 bookmarks, especially. We registered 1,739 voters in person and using Vote 411. We hosted 118 activities, so different volunteer activities and other events across the year. That's crazy. Over the past year, we actually have this fun number of the amount of how much our time is worth. So according to the state of Texas, there is a number that is $35 an hour. That is the value of a volunteer hour in the state of Texas. And so according to that, we have gotten the equivalent of $60,587 in volunteer time. Thank you to all of those who contributed. Additionally, we've had 272 league volunteers. I think there's some double counting in there in those numbers. And 1,730 volunteer hours, which is quite a feat. Does anybody have any final questions on any of the reports before we have our final raffle? And we also will have our award for Volunteer of the Year this year for the first time. Yes, Elizabeth. Mhm. Mhm.
Many years ago, for those of you who are new, I was president, we had 30
Yeah. Yeah, for those on the recording, whenever Elizabeth Urkel was president, we had 30 members. So 146, I want to say, is quite a feat. Okay, with that, we are going to transition to Leslie is going to present our Volunteer of the Year. And this is the first time we are handing out this reward. We believe that our volunteers are doing such excellent work. We really want to reward this. We've also had one particularly amazing volunteer this year. I will hand it over to Leslie.
Thank you. I wrote a little something, so I'm going to read it. Okay, this is super exciting to be giving out this first ever Volunteer of the Year award. And we are recognizing a volunteer who has made a tremendous impact on the League of Women Voters of Collin County. From the moment she joined, which I think was at a forum just like this volunteer has jumped in wholeheartedly and began using her talents to strengthen our organization's outreach and engagement. She's designed countless social media posts, newsletter graphics that have elevated our communications and helped expand our visibility in the community. She created our bookmarks and helped with the development of the new member orientation presentation. These are resources that will serve the league for years to come. Beyond all of her incredible work, she brings a great enthusiasm, positivity, and dedication. In fact, so much so, she will be on the board of directors in the coming year. We're so grateful for all of her contributions and her talent and commitment to the league. Please join me in congratulating this year's Volunteer of the Year, Emily Calderon.
Okay. Well, thank you all so much for attending today. I also wanted to mention thank you so much to Jackie Fleischman and also Donna Benning for being here. They are both 50-year members of the League of Women Voters, something we can all aspire to be. All right, and I'll see you next time.